So I wanted to quickly cover what I'm doing here in this video with this panel. Um, Having pressed that button, I've enabled a set of game objects, which I then interact with using the handgun override, in this case to shoot Fen. And some animation stuff occurs.
It's like they're all still there.
Great.
I got past.
And when I'm done, I can press another button and disable those game objects. So the reason I'm able to do that is thanks to work by RetroGeo, who created a method to animate on particle death, and they have a package for that on VRC mods. Um, and on my GitHub, which is linked to on my website, lindesu.ga, you can go to lin unity packages, state inventory, download, and I've already got this downloaded, so I just need to import. And once you've imported, there will be a lindesu folder, and you want to go to the state inventory folder where the state inventory prefab is. So to install this, you just need to drag it onto your avatar so that it's a direct child of your avatar. That's so the animations will work by default. There's a menu and a pointer object, and then all of these state objects. So within the state objects, and frankly within all of these objects, are a lot of other objects. And what I recommend for navigating this is to hold Alt while expanding and collapsing uh, to fully expand and collapse objects. And that'll save you some time. So there's the menu and the pointer, which are fixed by joints. To supply the rigid body for those joints, I'm gonna create some empty game objects under my finger and my wrist. My right finger and my left wrist. The menu will be under my left wrist, as it is in the video, and the pointer will be on my right finger. And I'm just going to create some rigid bodies as you normally would do that. My way of doing it is to create an empty game object that's a child of the bone, and then I name it descriptively, so right index rigid body, add rigid body. I make my rigid bodies kinematic. You can otherwise just freeze the constraints. Both seem to work fine. And now I'm going to create my left wrist rigid body. Right. So like I said, the menu is going to go under my left wrist. So I'm just going to give this a rotate. And this doesn't have to be perfect. That's good enough. And now that that's positioned properly, I'm going to add my rigid body. All right, so that's the menu. Uh, and now we're going to do the same thing for the pointer, but on your pointing finger. All right, that looks good. And set up the rigid body. Once your menu and pointer are set up, um, open up menu and navigate down to this select state object. There's going to be a bunch of them throughout here. Just find any one of them and enable the parent so that the select state object becomes visible. And you'll notice that there's a cube. We're trying to resize this cube. You should resize it so it encapsulates your avatar, but isn't way bigger than your avatar. You can position it as well. The only rule is that it encapsulates you. This looks good. So then copy the transforms and disable this object again. And now you want to apply what you just changed here to all of the other select state objects. So you can search for them in the search box above the hierarchy. Select all of them. And then paste the transforms. And now they're all like that. So that's what we needed to do there. This set object is what is being enabled and disabled with the button press. And above it, these objects handle the logic for that. For example, I'm going to create a cube here. And it's on by default. And the parent set is off by default. And you can see here that now that we're in play mode and these have initialized, this is off by default and my cube isn't visible. So to test the enable for state 0, I'm going to select the stop action particle object for the enable and then hit the is active on it because this will short circuit the operation of this and it will cause the output to start if I do that. And my cube appeared successfully. And if I do the same thing for the disable stop action particle, it will output the disable, which will turn off this set object again, and my cube will disappear. A nice property of these state objects is that they can be placed anywhere in your hierarchy and they'll still work the same. So in the example of my cube here, to be a little bit more contextual, we can think of this as like a hat instead. and I want my hat to track my head. So I'm going to move the state object to be a child of my head. And it will still work the same. Um, Another nice thing is that you can duplicate the state object, and both of them will still work the same. So if I want more than just a hat, and I also want, like, I don't know, a cool backpack, I can duplicate the state, call one state A, call the other state B, and let's make this a child of my spine. And we'll just move this back there. It's gonna be a big hat and a big backpack. Um, and to test that now, um, in the most convenient way, because um, I've duplicated my states, and to use the same testing method as before, I would have to go into both hierarchies. But for a true test, they need to both activate at the same time because they're part of the same state. Um, so what I'm going to do is enter play mode, and I'm going to simulate what the gestures are doing, these two gestures, when you're in game to interact with this menu, which is they turn this off. This is what the hand open is doing. It's turning this off, and then it's turning this off as well, and then it's turning this on. And my menu has appeared, and to simulate the pressing of a button, I'm not going to move the particle into the button. Rather, I'm going to select the button and the state which corresponds to the state that I'm activating, which in this case is state 0. And I'm going to select its stop action particle, and then I'm going to do that short circuiting trick. And yep, like I said, that's a big hat and it's a big backpack. But the backpack's a child of my spine, and the hat's a child of my head. So those will track correctly. They'll enable with the same button press. And like I said, they're in the armature and not a part of the state inventory hierarchy. So you're not constrained by that. The final thing to do is install your overrides, which I've done right here. And to explain what these are doing a little bit, when you use hand open and finger point together, the inventory will be unhidden. And you can see here as I enter play mode, the inventory is automatically hidden. The inventory will remain open until you release hand open. Finger point can be released as frequently as you want, and the inventory will remain open. So, something to note about fingerpoint. Fingerpoint manages all of these particles right here. And these particles die when they hit their corresponding button. And they respawn with every usage of fingerpoint. So if you press a button, if you intend to press that same button again, you have to use fingerpoint again. I hope that makes sense. That's it.